As Minister of Culture and Language, I represent the Métis Nation, based in Western Canada. Michif is our national language. On July 23, 2000, the Métis Nation issued a declaration recognizing and declaring Michif as the official language of the Métis Nation. The Métis Nation and its citizens have been impacted by the history of colonization in Canada. This includes the illegal dispossession of the Métis from our lands and the forced removal of large numbers of Métis children from their families and communities. Nonetheless, the strength of the Métis Nation has been sustained throughout its history, playing a central role in Confederation. 2020 marks its 150th anniversary of joining Canadian Confederation as a province of Manitoba. In the past few years, we have made advancements in the preservation, promotion, and revitalization of Michif through domestic policy and legislative efforts in Canada, resulting in the recent passing of an act respecting Indigenous languages, which we were involved in co-developing. UNESCO has proclaimed that Michif is a critically endangered language in need of urgent attention. This concerted efforts across the Métis homeland are needed. We have developed best practices such as language nests and immersion program for early childhood education, and the mentorship apprenticeship program, where university students study intensely under the mentorship of a Michif speaker. These best practices can be leveraged in our efforts to reclaim Michif. It will be imperative that in the implementation of this act, resources are allocated to prioritizing languages, including Michif, that are critically endangered. Similarly, it will be imperative that in the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, efforts be focused on critically endangered Indigenous languages around the world. I now respond to the questions posed for this meeting. First, by advancing the rights of Indigenous peoples to speak their languages, societies become more inclusive, breaking down colonial impacts, leading to peaceful societies. This is also key to achieving reconciliation. Furthermore, much traditional knowledge is held within Indigenous languages, a critical link to advancing sustainable developmental practices. Second, it is necessary to share good practices amongst each other in order to ensure the intergenerational transition of Indigenous languages. We need to find ways to document languages that are critically endangered so that the important learnings that needs to take place across the generations can be facilitated over the course of the International Decade and beyond. Third, it will be important for states to support international efforts through not only providing critical financial support domestically, but also by providing support to an international fund that can serve the unmet needs of Indigenous peoples from developing regions of the world. Collectively, we can, and indeed must, advance the linguistic, cultural, and self-determining rights of Indigenous peoples through the action plan of the International Decade of Indigenous Languages. Merci, and thank you.